Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Each week we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story you'd like to share? Have comments about the podcast? Love to hear from you. Just email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with us on Facebook at Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. And check out our new website, giftoflifepodcast.com, as we welcome you to episode 66. As we kick off something truly important, National Multiethnic Donor Awareness Month. This special month is more than a calendar event. It's a nationwide effort led by the National Multicultural Action Group to build more inclusive, informed, and empowered culture around organ, eye, and tissue donation. The goal, to improve the quality of life for people in all communities, especially those that have historically been underserved and underrepresented in donation and transplantation. As we celebrate and raise awareness this month, we're honored to be joined by someone who lives and breathes this mission, Erica Clare, the Multicultural Communications Relations Coordinator for LifeLink Florida. Erica brings her passion, insight, and expertise to the table, helping bridge the gap and build trust within the diverse communities when it comes to saying yes to donation. So grab a cup of coffee, lean in, and get ready for a conversation that matters. We'll be talking with Erica Clare coming in next. Erica Clare, welcome to the Gift of Life podcast. Let's kick things off by you telling us just a little bit about yourself.
So I want to start by saying thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk about this national observance because it's very near and dear to my heart. But my name is Erica Clare. I am the Multicultural Communications Coordinator for LifeLink. A bit of a mouthful, so I always just call myself the Multicultural Coordinator for LifeLink. I work in faith communities. I work in African American communities. I work in all multicultural communities in the LifeLink of Florida service area to do what I can to educate on organ and tissue donation and, help get the LifeLink mission out there.
Now, as I've been doing this podcast, I have learned from others that there's a lot of myths out there. And it seems like, the multicultural, a lot of the cultures have even stronger beliefs where, this isn't good. So let's just get started. What are some of the myths and what do you tell those folks?
So yes, there are a lot of myths and misconceptions around organ donation, especially in multicultural communities. Without a doubt, the number one question or concern that I hear is if I register to be an organ donor, doctors won't try to save my life. And I've heard that a lot. My mom actually told me the same thing when I was 16, well, actually 17, getting my driver's license, that if I register to be an organ donor, doctors won't try to save my life. They won't prioritize my life. So I was advised when I was younger to hesitate and not register to be an organ donor. And that fear, especially in multicultural communities, is extremely common. And it comes from a mistrust of the medical system. But the truth is that doctors will do everything they can to save your life, regardless of your donor status. Organ donation is really only considered after all life-saving efforts have failed. They've tried everything they can to save your life. And at that point, a completely separate team will get involved and start that discussion with your family. Those teams that get involved are LifeLink or any other OPO around the country. So if you're a registered organ donor, our team will let your family know about that decision that you've made and walk them through the donation process. And if you aren't a registered organ donor, they'll communicate with your family to get consent. So I always like to let people know that this is an incredibly meticulous process that was created to ensure fairness and equity for everyone involved. I think another common misconception that I hear a lot, since I work in faith communities, is that my religion, I may not be able to be an organ donor because of religious exemptions. And I like to let people know that most major religions in the United States support organ donation. They see it as the ultimate gift of sacrifice and donation. So I think it's important to get all of these myths and misconceptions out and educate on it whenever possible because it allows people to make informed decisions.
Now, I think this would be a great story because, as you said, growing up, even your parents told you at 17, "Oh, I don't know if you want to do this." How have you learned in the process, obviously, of working for LifeLink, how, that you've been educated and how, you know, I'm trying to think, how has that helped you to get through it and then to tell others?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think my perspective is so incredibly common. Like I've heard that whenever I'm at tables, oh, they won't try to save your life. And my mom told me not to, my grandma told me not to. And I think growing up, well, I was supposed to get my license at 16, but I failed the first test, so we waited until I was 17. And I remember asking the lady at the DMV for more information, kind of behind my mom's back, about organ and tissue donation and actually learning about what it is. It's the ability to save lives. So I always recommend, people talk to trusted professionals about donation. Talk to the workers at the DMV when you're getting your license. Talk to those medical professionals. Talk to your faith leaders about donation. And that's one of the things that helped shift my perspective. I started working for LifeLink and I got all of this facts and all of these information pieces and I got the full picture instead of just, believing what I had been told and the rumors that I've heard. So for me personally, getting educated was absolutely the number one thing that helped shift my perspective and it helps shift the perspectives of people that I meet. Is just letting them know the facts because once you know the facts, the donation process and the idea of organ donation becomes a lot less scary.
So let's say someone is still on the fence and they're hearing you, and it is good to do your own research. I mean, that's the best way. And so what would you suggest? What are some of the places they can go and to do their own research?
Yeah, so obviously reaching out to LifeLink, we have a website, www.mystorycontinues.org, where you can register and find more information about organ donation. Medical professionals are a great resource. Talk to your primary care physician, talk to them, ask them what they've seen, what they think, how they believe. Contact your local OPO. There's an OPO in every state. Reach out to them, ask them what they think. They have resources available online as well. And that would be my main kind of education piece there is just ask your medical professionals, ask those OPOs, and have a discussion about your concerns and fears.
Now I know, basically with organ donation, it's a lot, with your blood type and other, factors that go in. And color really isn't one of those factors, is it?
Absolutely not. So, interracial donations are incredibly common. You can transplant. I could donate to you. You could donate to me. Interracial transplants are incredibly common. Race is not a factor to donation. While you are more likely to be a match with someone that has genetic similarities to you, those genetic similarities aren't completely non-existent between races. So yeah, it's more common to be a match with someone that is racially similar with you, but it is absolutely not a determining factor.
Now, as far as you being, kind of like the liaison, and talks to people. Uh, okay, so you're walking into a church group and you're going to talk about organ donation. Where are you going to start and what are you going to tell those people?
Honestly, the best way to start is with a testimony. So when I'm going to faith groups, I always invite a volunteer that has experienced donation. Either they're a donor family or a recipient, and they have that conversation with someone that looks like them, someone that's a community member, maybe even someone that has gone to their church and has had a firsthand experience with organ donation. Um, and so people can see what that looks like. They can see the impact of donation and I think it's incredibly amazing to get the perspective of someone that's been through it, someone that's healthy and vibrant and walking around, or a donor mom or a donor dad that has gone through the incredible loss of losing a loved one, but they are comforted in the solace of the fact that their loved one has donated. They're living through someone else and helping someone else even after they've passed. So that's what I would go through first, is just giving people the opportunity to meet someone that has been personally affected by donation.
Yeah, I remember the first few people that I met after I had my heart transplant. It's amazing that people will say, "You had a heart transplant?
Mhm.
You look so normal. You look great." And it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of why I got the heart transplant, so I can lead somewhat of a normal life. Obviously, with transplantation, there's a few little bumps along the way that most transplant patients will tell you about. But yeah, sometimes when you see one up close, it's kind of like, oh, I don't know if they're thinking you're going to be a lot sicker or you're just not going to be the same. But it was a big experience for me, to meet people and to let them know that, I had a transplant and to see their response because a lot of times it was just like they were taken back, like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really common, misconception, is that or a perspective that people have, is that, you're still going to be down and sick. And I think, like you said, that's why you got the transplant, to improve the quality of your life. So again, that's why we bring in volunteers, to just shift perspectives. A lot of people will think, well, if I'm donating my organs and the person that's receiving is still going to be sick, still going to have a poor quality of life, what's the point? But you're here, you're a testimony that your quality of life is so much better. You're feeling healthier, not constantly in the hospital like you would be before transplant, even though, like you said, there might still be some need for the hospital, but it absolutely improves quality of life.
I'm going to get a little bit and veer off from the subject. I mean, because lately I've been talking to a lot of pediatric moms that
Mm.
have children that are waiting for transplants, whether it be a lung or a heart or a liver. I've talked to, it seems like all of a sudden this podcast has been, I don't know, a bunch of, I think the first mom found me, and I think they got a mom's group out there because they came out of the wall after I did that first mom. What, what do you say to parents? That could be another, big stepping, because I think I just kind of witness and think of myself losing a small child would be devastating. And I know if someone came into a room and said, we need these organs, it would probably turn me off. But I know now that it is so important. So what would you tell like a mother who had, or a father even, that had lost a young one?
So, yeah, I think that's why doing education and going out into the community as much as possible, as soon as possible, is so important. Because, like you said, if the first time you're hearing about organ donation is during that incredibly traumatic time, you're not going to be able to process all of that information that you're getting, and change your perspectives and think about what's best for your child. So that's why I think going out into the community and educating before anything happens is so important, because it gives people that information prior to such a traumatic experience. And as for what I would tell a parent is, um, just giving them the information that I've gotten from different donor family parents, is letting them know that it's the opportunity for your child's life to live on through someone else. It's the opportunity for them to live on infinitely through someone else, to give support, to give back, to help people after that their child has passed. So yeah, first, absolutely, is getting out there and educating before those traumatic situations happen. So their experience with donation, they've had those conversations, maybe even with their child, to get their perspective. So yeah.
I like to tell this story, and probably someone that, works in the business like you do. I had a friend that I had on the podcast who had a transplant himself. Unfortunately, a couple years before his transplant, or he even knew about transplants, he lost his wife.
Mhm.
And he said he was in that room and he was getting, the talk about, would you like to be an organ donor? And, your wife can help these people. And it was just, he was in such grief and everything. His immediate answer was no. No way, no how, just go away. And I know you probably get that a lot, but what he told me now, that he has went through the system. He now has a beautiful liver. His life has changed. He's spending time with his daughter and, hopefully maybe soon grandchildren. And he told me that if he could go back to that day and do it all over again, and know what he knows today, his answer would have been 100% different.
Yeah, that's, not even a rare story that I've heard. People come up to me in my tabling events and talk about the regret they've had saying no for their loved ones and then regretting it. And like I said earlier, education is so important because it gives people access to that information prior to anything traumatic in a completely, neutral setting where you can ask those silly questions and those scary questions and get your fears, out of your system and talk about donation. So I always recommend that people speak to their families so that when they're in those, extremely emotionally volatile situations, they'll know what their loved one would have wanted. You've expressed your desire to donate so that it's not a decision. It's not something else that's on that family member or loved one's plate. It's not another thing they have to think about and wonder about and hope they're making the right decision because you would have already had that conversation with your loved one. So yeah, I've definitely heard that before, and it's sad, but I'm glad that the person you're speaking about was able to kind of see a different perspective on donation via their own experiences.
Well, it is National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. Now, your job, of course, is to promote it. What are some of the things that will be going on this month? Are there anything special you have planned?
So LifeLink is going to be out. We are going to be educating, educating, educating. You can see us all around the service area at different community events. I love that National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month takes place during August because it's really common for there to be back to school events and backpack events, and LifeLink will be at as many as possible. So look for us, look for our logo, look for our community members. We'll have volunteer and staff at different community events all throughout this month offering education, but not only education, we'll be giving back to our communities. Before we want to ask for your time, for you to register, for you to sit and listen to us educate about organ donation, we want to give back to the community as well. So we'll be at these community events, giving out school supplies, information, and offering conversations to get the community educated.
Well, I appreciate what you do, and it is very, very important. But now, how did you get drawn? I don't want to say drawn in, but did something happen in your life, or what really kind of like gave you the drive to possibly get involved?
So it was a multitude of things for me. I have a family member that is on dialysis and will eventually need a transplant. And he's spoken to the family about all of his options, living donation and then receiving an organ from someone that has passed away, receiving a traditional transplant. And we had those conversations. And that's when I first, learned that that was something so close to home. I have a lot of family members that have diabetes, as many people in my community. So just having that, face-to-face reality and interaction with donation was amazing. And it kind of put it on my radar as something I definitely need to think about and learn about. But then also working at LifeLink and meeting volunteers and meeting people that have experienced transplants, who have had their lives saved by receiving an organ or have, had their family members lives saved, has just been incredibly impactful. And that's definitely what has pulled me towards this mission and has fueled me and made me passionate about what I do every day. So just meeting people and all of those experiences have definitely played a role in that.
Obviously, you've talked to a lot of people, changed a lot of people's lives. But as you look back with your time with LifeLink, what hit, I don't know if I should say hits you, but what one thing maybe really just like whenever you think of organ donation or you think about your job that you think back and go, boy, I remember that day. That was a big day.
For me, it was meeting one of our volunteers who was younger than I was at the time. And she talked about how she was so active. She did the same sport that I did. It was amazing. And she looked so healthy. Again, like that common misconception you get where people that receive a transplant aren't healthy, aren't living a good quality of life. And meeting her and seeing someone that was younger than me and healthier than me end up needing that transplant definitely just shifted my perspective and made this such an important topic for me because it made me realize, you may be healthy, you may be young, but life is not guaranteed. There's always going to be, there could always be something that happens. So you need to think about these things that might be a little scary to think about. Death, no one wants to think about death. No one wants to think about, the things that happen after you pass. But having those conversations with your family is incredibly important in that meeting that young volunteer who was healthy, smiling, bubbling, just put that into perspective for me because, she was healthier than me and ended up needing a transplant. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's good stuff. Now, as you say, this month of August, this is when we celebrate it and when we go out and I don't know if celebrate would be a word, but that's when we try to get people aware of organ donation in multicultural, communities. So, what would be your final words, or what would you really want to make sure that they hear?
I want to ensure that people know that it is okay to be, hesitant. It's not coming from a place of apathy. It's not coming from a place of selfishness. It's coming from, a place of having questions. It's coming from maybe a place of fear or mistrust. I want people to know that it is so completely okay to ask questions and have questions, but also that there are so many resources available to get educated. So we have our website, like I said, www.mystorycontinues.com. You have resources like your OPOs, you have resources like your doctors. I want people to know that they can have those conversations with their families. Having conversations with your families is going to kind of destigmatize the idea of organ donation as a whole. It'll make you more comfortable talking about it. And it'll, maybe who knows, even change the minds of your family members and friends. So those are the two things that I want to stress. Get educated and have conversations with your family and your loved ones about donation.
I think that is very, very important that you talk to your family because
Mhm.
really, if something does happen to you, they will be the ones that make the decision. And I believe in Florida and some other states, your family can still say, no, I'm not going to do this. Even if you are an organ donor, you got it on your license and everything else, they can still kind of like, no, I'm not going to let you do this. So that conversation, as you said, it is tough, but it's an important conversation. So if you're just, feeling good, you're healthy, it's not a bad idea to sit down one evening at the dinner table and discuss your wishes. Say, hey mom, or hey uncle, or whoever you're talking to. When I pass, I mean, I hope it's going to be a long, long time from now, but when I do, I hope that you will be there to make sure that they donate my organs so others can live, so others can live better lives, and just have that conversation. It is so very important.
Absolutely.
Now, also, I always, doing this podcast, I always get these people that have been living donors. And it's still, every time I hear one, it just totally amazes me when people say they wake up in the middle of the night and they go, I'm going to donate a kidney, or I'm going to donate a piece of my liver, because you can be living donors, with kidneys and livers. So what is not wildest, but what is the story that, someone has just come out of the blue and decided to donate an organ that you've heard?
Yeah, so LifeLeak handles more, the deceased donation side. We handle more of the side of, when someone's in that hospital and they are approaching, becoming an organ donor. But I have heard, on a personal note, I have heard some crazy stories. And um, I learned at a conference that they're actually doing research on the brain waves of people that just decide to be living donors, and that they are incredibly unique within themselves, because that's an almost shocking thing to do, is to be a living donor. So I always recommend people reach out to their living or their transplant center if that's something that they're interested in. Um, I know TGH is a popular one in Tampa, but there are some all around the country. But yeah, I think it takes an incredibly special individual to want to be a living donor and to take the next step to actually do it. So yeah, it's pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy because I've had people on, they said in the middle of the night, they just kind of wake up and they go, you know what, I could don't. And also another thing I've seen a lot or heard a lot is people will see a video or see a Facebook post and they'll go, I could do that. And then they'll go out and, they'll do some research and they'll decide to do it. And those are some truly, truly amazing people, just as you are, Erica. And we appreciate you so much for coming on the podcast and as we kick off the month of August. And of course, it is I want to say it right, the National Multiethnic Donor Awareness Month. We celebrated this whole month of August. So get out, share the word with other people. Any other things they can do this month to get the ball rolling in their communities?
Yeah, look for us. Reach out to us, talk to us, follow us on social media, Lifelink of Florida. Find us, contact us, email us, give us a call if you have any questions. We're always, always, always available to help guide you guys.
And what's really funny, I find out too that you grew up in the same town, well, not the same town, but the same area where I came from down in Fort Myers, but you were in Cape Coral. Now, let me see. I can almost picture you as a little girl. Did you ever come into Houdini's Pizza Magic where we did the magic show for the kids? You would have probably been the age when we were doing magic shows, and you could have been one of those birthday parties or something.
You know, I absolutely could have. I had an obsession with magic when I was young. I loved the card tricks. I remember one time I went to a birthday party and a magician literally pulled a rabbit out of a hat, you know, the same traditional thing. And it was so amazing. And from then on, I was obsessed with magic. So that truly could have been me.
I bet you, yeah, because we were there in Cape Coral, right there on Del Prado Boulevard. I was there for a couple years with Houdini's Pizza Magic. I remember it well. Well, thanks so much for taking, time out of your day, because I know you're a busy, busy young lady working with Lifelink. But thank you for sharing, and you have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much for having me, BJ.
Again, thank you so much, Erica, for sharing your knowledge with us today, as we'll continue throughout the entire month of August to celebrate National Multi-Ethnic Donor Awareness Month. Be sure to join us each week for a new heartfelt episode of Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. And if you have a transplant story, email us, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook. Also, don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends. And we appreciate your 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself, along with my former radio partner, Bill Stevens, BJ and Bill the Podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. We want to say a big thank you to them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.
He was running on empty, heart fading fast. Doctor said, man, you ain't gonna last. But a stranger's kindness, a gift so true, turned the night sky into something new. He got a second chance, he got a brand new spark, like a freight train rolling back from the dark. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. 15 years later, the road got rough. The fight ain't over when the climb is tough. Needed a kidney, the race was on. Another hero stepped up, kept him strong. Every breath he takes is a tale of hope. One life saved, another can cope. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. Doctor's hands, a donor's grace, running on down to a brand new place. Second chances don't come twice, but when they do, man, they feel so nice. So let's spread the word, let the people know. One yes today lets a miracle grow. You don't need wings just to save a man, just a little love, a helping hand. Gift of life. life. Let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. BJ still rockin', still standing tall. Thanks to the ones who gave it all. Gift of life, hear the sound. Pass it on, pass it down. The Gift of Life podcast hosted by BJ Odom. Listen now.